All right, welcome to the Tribe Digital Marketing Series. Today, I am joined by LeadMD Principal, Michael Davis. So let's first start with, what are you most passionate about in marketing?
I've had this very, call it, systems approach to marketing, and I'm more of a systems person generally. I enjoy structure and architecture and data and all of that. But ultimately, the desire that I have for creating continuity of systems and data is really about driving towards customer experience.
Okay.
The idea or the desire to have the right communication to the right person at the right time is easy to talk about. It's easy, like that's not something that yeah, right. The challenge is it's really hard. It's really hard to get that right, and it's really hard mostly because we have siloed systems, we have siloed data, we don't have a strategy. There's lots of reasons for why that's so hard. They are more and more becoming aware that this idea of a one-size-fits-all blanket approach to marketing isn't working.
Well, it seems like you're saying that data and good data is the foundation of good marketing. And you rarely speak to a marketer who says, my data is in tip-top shape. So if we pivot the conversation a little bit to something people can do, right? I know and the reason people don't invest is because it seems overwhelming. What's something very tactically that people can be doing?
So I think, the point of orchestration and the point of being able to pull all these systems together and the point of being able to create that type of visibility across the funnel, across the journey is about personalization, is about connection, right? And it's about being able to speak the right language to the right person. And right now is probably the most important time as of late, historically late, that it's important to meet somebody where they are. A lack of connection, a lack of personalization is going to be a big problem right now. Nobody is interested in like blanket messaging about your webinar. At this time, at this point in everything that's happening, I can't afford to miss.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough opportunities. I can't just blanket stuff and get an okay response here. Like these things have to count. And in order to make them count right now, at least for me, I'm spending more time ensuring I understand who I'm trying to talk to, why am I trying to talk to them, what place are they in, what headspace are they in, where are they within their organization, what's happening in their organization, and what am I trying to say to maintain the connection or the momentum forward.
How much can you learn from the existing data that you have in, say, your marketing system, as an example? Yeah.
It may take some extra work. Clients still have a lot of data on their customer. We, LeadMD, have a lot of data on our customers. It's just not always accessible. It's just not always bubbled up in a perfect platter of what to do next. It just requires some legwork. You've got to get in and understand, okay, this is the group of people that I'm trying to have a conversation with. What is that conversation designed to accomplish? What I want out of that conversation? What is the other side of the table thinking when they receive my communication? Where do they care? And how do I understand more about what they've already done? And this is simple data points, obviously, demographic data, but I think looking at behavior and looking at how people having interacted with you in the past and understanding, what are the things that you do have? I mean, I would bring all of that to the table, and if that means exporting it and looking at it in a document, then do it.
Well, it sounds like that work to a certain extent is literally exporting maybe some data from a system, right? And into an Excel sheet, finding some fields that you think are interesting, right? I'm just hypothetical here, right?
Sure.
Find some fields that you think are interesting and then running some pivot tables on some commonalities. I mean, would that be a starting point?
Anything that's going to lead you down a more tailored communication is the right path.
You might be able to, if you were to take just your marketing, say your marketing automation system, right, and export that data and start to just run some high level, pivots and whatnot and see what's in there. What do you think people might learn?
I think it's all about like what lens you approach that with. When I think about databases, you have tons of data in a database, and sometimes it's just legacy. Sometimes it's like, people that collected over time. Some people, are actively doing something. I mean, I think if you wanted to be engaging with a group of audience that's already engaging with you, that's obviously a step in the right direction. You know, if you're going cold to a bunch of people in your database that haven't either never opened an email for you, never done anything with you, like maybe now's not the right time to be trying to engage that group. I probably, if it was me, I'd probably be approaching a database and I'd probably just slice off the group that's actually have done some kind of engagement or something with me. Yeah, last few days, right? Something that's like, okay, they've at least heard from me, or they responded to me in some way, they've been on my website, or they've responded to an email or saw an ad, and I'd take that group. And then I'd slice and dice it about where are they in relationship to my journey, right? Yep. Are these people in cycle? Are these people in active conversations? Where are they versus people who are not? And then I would start to separate those two groups and try to understand the level of engagement of those two groups. If somebody's in cycle, like the first thing I'm doing is having a conversation with the salesperson that's involved there and trying to understand, should we be sending anything to this group? Totally. What's the sentiment there? Like, what's happening? Are we doing a disservice by having like any kind of marketing messaging going out to this group of people? And just make sure that I understand that. And if there is, a need or a desire to potentially market to them, I would start thinking about, okay, in the groups, and I start breaking them up into groups, early stage cycle, middle stage, late stage, and I'm trying to understand what are the groups of people that matter in those different stages and what's the messaging that's going to be appropriate. I think, some organizations have done amazing work with segmentation and buyer personas and some of those things, and you can leverage a lot of that information to try to give you some insights on who within those groups you should be messaging to and how. But if you don't have that information, just doing some basic segmentation is really critical. And I think the journey is important. Like, where are they in their experience with you? If they've already had 6 conversations with the salesperson, like, you don't need to be sending them like how our product work information. It's not exactly, it's like this time it's about trust and understanding and recognizing that crisis brings people together in a lot of ways if you're willing to trust each other, depending on who you're talking to, of course. But I would then look at the other side of the table, people who are not in cycle, and understanding, okay, what are the easy axes to slice and dice these groups apart? Does regions make a difference? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Is there industry that makes a difference? Just natural breakpoints where you start grouping people in cohorts and understanding, I've got a client that's in the credit risk insurance business. So obviously they're in a lot of like turmoil right now. So when I think about, how we would message that particular client versus how we talk to another client who's in the healthcare space, specifically in respiration medical devices, like that's a very different message altogether. And so trying to break those people up into groups that make sense. I think you can find a lot of information if you just take that little extra effort to start breaking people apart.
I love it. I think that's great. I think it's great advice. And actually I saw a post on LinkedIn today, and I'll give a shout out to Josh Braun, and I'll tag him in this when we post it, but it was along the lines of, we're typically operating our sales and marketing in 3rd, 4th, and 5th gear, right? We're going really fast. Now we're being forced to downshift and get into 1st gear. What happens if we stay there and actually really focus on what we're doing, the message, the data, what people want, and focus on a quality versus a quantity message? And I think it's a really good concept. And I think it plays really well into what you just said. Take the time to take a step back. Don't just batch something out for the sake of get something out, especially in terms of what's going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this before, but I think if I had to summarize almost all the consulting advice that I've given in the last 5 or 6 years, it's really centered somewhere around the idea of simplify and focus.
Yeah.
Understand all the stuff that's going on, simplify what you're trying to do, and focus on something and be great at it.